Welcome back, guys. Well, I've decided to do a bonus episode to the series because it appears as if the devs have managed to fix the speed bug when combining these cards at the bottom. So, I haven't fully had chance to test that it's completely fixed, but in the two games that I've tried, I haven't encountered the speed bug again. Which, considering I encountered it 8 times in a row before, and now it's 2 times in a row I haven't encountered it, I can pretty confidently say that they've managed to fix it. So, with that in mind, I'll do an additional episode, but it's going to be a short one because it's the main way that people play. So it doesn't really warrant an episode to itself because I think everyone already knows and uses this system, so it's pretty pointless in me going very in depth into it. But I will do anyway, just so I've covered everything basically. So because we can now combine these, we can now create a battle line. Now, one thing I will say when creating a battle line is you can easily switch who the lead ship is. Let's just see which direction we're going. So we are going that way. So you can easily switch who the lead ship is by selecting somebody, taking them out of the battle line, and then moving the battle line group onto the one that you want to be the leader. That way, he now becomes the leader. Very, very simple way of changing who you want the leader to be. Okay, so I'll go through the pros of this system and the cons, obviously. So the pros is basically it's a really simple method of playing the game. Stick everyone in a group. You're in the ahead formation. All you need to do is just click where you want to go with this one guy, and the AI will basically control everything else for you. So I've never actually used the avoid torpedo button because I've heard so much bad stuff about it that I've never actually tried it. But assuming that they fix this button, you can now press this button and the rest of your ships will try to avoid the torpedoes. Now personally, I just wouldn't, but if you were going to, then you've got that option in a battle line. In a follow line, you don't have this option because they don't class as being in the same battle group in a follow line. They just class as individual ships, so you don't have this avoid torpedoes because you can't put it on a lead ship. So a battle line has the pro of being able to use this button. Okay, another relatively good way to pro for this formation. Sorry, I'll get my words out eventually. So another pro to this formation is if the enemy ship is there and your battle line is in a straight line behind you, if they've managed to sort themselves out, if you stay on the left hand side, so the enemy's there, if you stay on the left hand side, they're always going to shoot their torpedoes that way. So that means that they're not shooting at the rest of your battle line. So it's relatively easy to dodge torpedoes as long as you always go away from the ship. Now as soon as you start turning the other way, they're now going to start aiming this way, and now your whole battle line is going to be in trouble. So it's good for dodging torpedoes as long as you're always going away from the enemy. So one thing you can do, if they start shooting torpedoes at you and you start moving away from them, you can now, if you want, pause the game just so you have more time, but you don't have to pause the game. So you can now select this front guy. Make sure you don't have the entire battle line selected. This is one con to this, is you can easily cock up the entire thing if you accidentally separate the whole battle line out into individual ships. Because if you try to put them back in again, they won't stay in the order that they were in before, which is really frustrating. So that's a con to it. But basically, if you just click rather than drag, if you drag, you select everybody, even though you're only dragging over one. If you click, you select just the one. So click on a ship to select the one individual ship. They're firing torpedoes at me. So I'm gradually moving out of the way, but obviously these ships are going to be following me straight into the path of the torpedoes. So what you would do is you would gradually move out of the way, make sure you click on the lead guy so you don't select everybody. You can now detach this guy so he's not in the rest of them aren't in a battle line with him anymore. He can continue getting the enemy to fire torpedoes at him while dodging them. This ship can now go on the opposite side of where the torpedoes are coming in, because the torpedoes are going to be doing that. First one's going to be going there, then there, then there, then there, if they carry on shooting. Then this guy, with the rest of the battle line, can come this side, and still make sure you're on the left hand side of the enemy ship if you can. So they don't change target to this ship and start shooting down your line. So you stay on the left hand side of him still, but now he becomes the lead ship. Now if you want, once you've managed to dodge all the torpedoes, you can then send him back in the direction of the enemy ship, but as an individual. Alternatively, you can send him back in the direction of the enemy ship and then do a follow order with your battle line onto him, so he remains the lead ship. Or you can just send him round to the back and join onto the back of the battle line. So to join onto the back of the battle line, you only need to do a follow order on any of the ships. So it doesn't have to be the back ship. You can just do it onto the front ship, but he'll still join the back of the line. Now, I don't know if this is a new system or if I've just never tried it before, but I think in a battle line, obviously, when ships break off, when they get damaged, they join the back of the battle line. Now, I'm going to have to test this, but I'm pretty sure that in my last game that I played, they weren't joining the back of the battle line if they had a ship following the back of the battle line. They were joining the back of the follow line, which is very strange, but could also be pretty good. But because I haven't actually tested this, I haven't made my mind up about whether it's good or what it's good for. So we'll test it during this game, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, as you're dodging torpedoes, you can quickly deselect them, dodge with that one. These won't follow. You can now control this individually, and then if someone else starts shooting torpedoes at this guy, you can now dodge with this guy. Make sure you click on him rather than drag, deselect him, and now this guy's the lead one. And then you can basically keep doing the same thing, and it's quite a nice, simple way of controlling your army or navy, and still dodging torpedoes at the same time. So the only thing you have to make sure you don't do is come inside yourself so the enemies shoot torpedoes down your whole line. Always make sure you stay on the outside of the combat. Okay, so that is the pros to this formation. So now the cons to this formation is... Oh, it didn't work. Yeah, it did. It did work. For some reason, he wants to join on the back, even though I told him to join onto him. So yeah, it's not perfect. I'm not even going to bother messing about with it. I'll let it do what it wants to do. Okay, so the cons to this formation is, obviously, if you're doing a gigantic torpedo line, like you've got all destroyers like I have here, sometimes you don't want your torpedo boats to break off. when they get damaged, because obviously your only target is to get as close as you can to the enemy and fire your torpedoes off. So you don't want them to break off when they get damaged, which is what they do in this formation. So it means that if you are using a torpedo line like me and they get damaged, you now have to deselect them from the group like we did before to make sure you can then keep them going in the way you want them to. So it's more micro intensive if you want to make sure that they're not breaking off and falling back. If you're not bothered about them breaking off and falling back, like if you want them to break off when they get damaged, then that's good. But obviously in a torpedo line you don't necessarily want that to happen. Okay, so the next con to this is you can only control your lead ship. So if torpedoes come over here and it looks like it's going to hit this guy, you can't control him. You can't move him out of the way. So the only way you'd be able to control him, let's use a different ship as an example, because he's obviously behind the lead ship. So let's say it's going to hit him. The only way you'd be able to control him is by taking him out of the formation. Okay, so you've taken him out of the formation, you can now control him. Problem is, you can't put him back into the line where he is in the position in the line. If you try to join him back into the line, he will automatically join the back of the line, which obviously slows down your line, your progress towards the objective. It adds gigantic gaps in your line, because obviously this ship has now vacated his position in the line, so now you've got a huge gap. So yeah, it's not good for dodging torpedoes that are not aimed directly at your front ship. And then the last con to this, can't really show you right now because I've already sped the time up, but at the beginning of a battle, when you've got loads of ships all close to each other, if you set them all just in a battle line and click go that way, they'll all fight each other to get in line. It can take ages for them to sort themselves out and to get into a proper battle line. So that's the other major con to this battle line system. It's the same as a follow line system. Basically, it's really difficult for them to sort themselves out into a line quickly. So you wouldn't really want to use this formation if you had a huge amount of ships, especially big ships. Destroyers aren't so bad because they're nimble and they can sort themselves out quicker, and obviously they're faster. But if you had loads of big ships, they're not nimble, they don't sort themselves out very quick, they can end up messing about for a solid hour's worth of gameplay, game time play, before they manage to get themselves in a line. So it's not time efficient whatsoever if you're using a big fleet. Okay, so that's pretty much all the pros and cons. Now, the main time that I would use this system is if you're a new player, you're new to the game, you want everything to be as simple as you can, so you can focus on what's actually happening in the game, so you can learn the game. This is the best system for you. This will just let you control everybody just by controlling one ship. And you've got a good idea where all your other ships are, because they should be directly behind you. So it's the easiest way to play the game if you're new to the game. But it's certainly not the best way to play the game. So I would only recommend this if you are new to the game and you aren't confident in your micromanagement abilities, or if you are trying to learn stats, different things on the screen, what they do and what they mean. you haven't got time to be micromanaging. So this is a good way to just click somewhere and let all your ships just deal with everything themselves. One other good thing that I didn't mention, a pro to this, is obviously if all your ships do manage to get in a line, then firing torpedoes is a lot safer than if your ships are not in a line. So if you're using the screen ability, I call it ability, I don't know what they're called, orders, movement orders, yeah. So if you're using the screen movement order, all your ships are going to be around each other, they're not going to be in a line. So if an enemy's over there and you've got ships everywhere, the ships behind are going to shoot at the enemy and hit the ships who are in front of them, because they're not in a line. So the other good thing with this battle line and the follow line, because they're in a line, as long as you don't come inside yourself, as long as you always stay on the outside of the enemy, then you're never going to be travelling into the path of any of your torpedoes. So it's the safest way of using blanket fire torpedoes. So they're the two times that I would use this system: blanket fire torpedoes, or if you're just new to the game and you haven't got the confidence to try a more micro intensive formation. Okay, so I think that about wraps it up for this explanation. So yeah, fingers crossed, the game is actually working now. It looks like it. Maybe, can't decide yet. It looks like it because I've got really low engine efficiency. So I mean, he's at 44.4 or 5 there, but he is actually increasing. So basically, with the old bug, this, although it showed 51 there, it would stick at 2/3 of the amount. So what's that? Is that 17? So it would stick at 34. These wouldn't rise above 34. So the fact that they're above 34 now shows that the bug is fixed, or at least fixed for the time being. Obviously the bug doesn't necessarily happen right at the beginning of the game, so it doesn't mean that it's fixed. It just means that it's not present at the moment. So yeah, because the bug seems to be working, this is now a viable option again. So yeah, if you want to carry on watching how I use it as a blanket torpedo system, then stick around. What I would do is find out where the biggest enemy ship is, which is that one. Hold down shift, so you're using the torpedoes only target. So you shift click onto the thing you want to fire torpedoes at. Now your guns will all shoot at whoever they want to with the auto aim, but your torpedoes are now set only to fire at the enemy battleship. So now, as you're approaching the enemy battleship, as soon as your ships get into position, they will fire their torpedoes off. They won't shoot at these ships, which is good, because you want to aim at the slowest, least manoeuvrable ship. And because the battleship is usually the furthest away, there's a chance that your torpedoes are going to hit these closer ships just by the fact that they're aiming at the furthest away ship. Where if you were aiming at the closest ships... Whoa, I didn't see that till late, Jesus. So if you were aiming at the closest ships, then your torpedoes would be going nowhere near the battleship. Where if you're aiming at the battleship, as you can see, you can quite easily accidentally hit the other enemy ships. Okay, that's it. That'll do for this episode. If you want to stick around to see me try and destroy this battleship, then you're more than welcome. If not, I'll see you in some Naval Academy videos. Take care, guys. See you soon. That's an example of another reason, another con that I forgot. Because he broke off and wanted to join the back of the line, he turned inside rather than outside, and if I was firing torpedoes, he would have turned into the path of all the friendly torpedoes. So this is why the battle line system is not as effective as the follow line system, because they end up doing things you don't want them to do, like falling back into your friendly torpedoes. As you can see there as well, he's taken virtually no damage whatsoever, and yet he still wants to fall back. So yeah, the battle line system is not good at all, in comparison to the follow line system, which doesn't have any of these issues. So because he turned inside into himself, he now got the enemy to fire the torpedoes inside, which then got them to target him. So as you can see here, just by using the battle line system, things have gone badly. They've gone very badly. You have to keep detaching this lead ship so it doesn't turn in the wrong direction, causing massive problems for your army. It's just overall, it's just a terrible alternative to a follow line system. So yeah, it's still usable. I'm not saying it's not. It doesn't do anything. You know, it's crap. It's just in comparison to a follow line system, it's not good. And this is the other thing I didn't mention. You can't put smoke on individual ships. You try to put it on one, and it puts it on absolutely everybody. So yeah. The fact that I've carried on playing this mission has basically highlighted a few things that I forgot to mention during the earlier introduction, or explanation I should say, not introduction. The enemy targeting has been improved quite considerably in this beta. The hotfix today, when I say today, it's not going to be on the day that I upload, it's the day I've recorded. So it's probably going to be a week or so behind the actual upload date. But basically they've changed it so now instead of targeting the ships that are falling back or damaged or whatever, they keep retargeting onto your fresh ships, causing you a massive headache for your destroyer torpedo runs. So it's made destroyers considerably worse as an option, which it could be seen as good, it could be seen as bad. I don't really know. I'll have to let you decide for yourself if you think this is good or not. It definitely makes it harder for the player, so I can't see it as being particularly bad, but it also makes destroyers considerably worse, and because destroyers are already overpriced, it just kind of makes destroyers not worth using. After about 1910, I think, after about 1910 you're better off just using either light cruisers, because you can get 6 inches of armour on them, or heavy cruisers, because they're just, well, heavy cruisers are fantastic. In my opinion, heavy cruisers are the best ship in the game. They've got the firepower to deal with other heavy cruisers and lower, so heavy, light and destroyers, and they've also got the ability to have deck torpedoes to be able to deal with enemy battleships and battle cruisers. So heavy cruisers, in my opinion, best ship in the game. They usually have the ability to be able to get an insane manoeuvrability, as well as a really good top speed, as well as 12 inches of belt armour and 6 inches everywhere else. So overall, heavy cruisers are just amazing. I wouldn't really bother with light cruisers personally. Heavy cruisers also have the bonus of giving more power projection, so they're a better ship to use in the campaign just simply for that purpose. So yeah, really, you can get away with just not even bothering with destroyers or light cruisers at all once you get past 1910. You can just move straight onto heavy cruisers and battleships. And battle cruisers if you want to use them, but again, battle cruisers are just a poor man's version of a battleship. They have worse power projection. They don't have any benefits that you can't add onto a battleship. The only thing that they have is a slightly better hull form, which gives them a slightly better operational range. But because they have worse everything else, especially resistance and stability, which are the two biggest core stats in the game, so because they have worse core stats, there's just no point in taking them at all, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion anyway. You can all decide for yourself what you prefer. But I don't think that destroyers are worth the money. Do you not want to shoot? No? Is he, there we go. Took a while. So yeah, I don't think destroyers are worth the money after 1910. And I don't think light cruisers are worth the money once you've got access to heavy cruisers. So not armoured cruisers, but heavy cruisers. So I think that's about 1923, if memory serves. Could be wrong about that, it might be a bit earlier, 1917. I always get Heavy Cruiser 1 and Heavy Cruiser 2 mixed up. But yeah, so as soon as you get access to Heavy Cruiser 1, don't even bother with light cruisers anymore, just stick to the Heavy Cruiser 1 and above, because they are simply just so good that there's no point in taking anything else. And then if you want to upgrade from a Heavy Cruiser 1 and a Heavy Cruiser 2, then the next best upgrade for that particular role, which is the manoeuvrable, nimble, small ship destroyer, is the battle cruiser, which is called a large cruiser. So the large cruiser basically performs like a heavy cruiser more than it does like a battleship. So if you did want a slightly better version of a screening ship, slightly better than a heavy cruiser, then just move straight onto a large cruiser. Don't try and use any of the other battle cruisers as a nimble ship. If you want a nimble ship and a battle cruiser, then go for the large cruiser. Anyway, that's enough for talking about ships. This isn't meant to be about ships, this is meant to be about formations, control, and torpedoing enemy ships. As you can see in this battle, I'm not going for close range torpedoes. This battle line is not a good system for close range. This is a long range blanket fire system, so if you want to use a short range system, use the follow line. You'll have a lot better results using a follow line. Okay, I'm out of torpedoes. I've done my torpedo runs. I've barely lost any ships. I've taken a lot of damage on everyone, which in the campaign would be awful, because the repair costs in the campaign are absolutely extortionate. I'm trying to convince the devs to fix that, but we'll see. We will see. So yeah, this would be an absolute disaster in terms of finances if you're in the campaign because of all of the damage I've taken. And it wouldn't be so bad for the enemies, because although they have lost a battleship, it's probably cheaper for them to build a battleship than it is for me to repair these destroyers, which is insane because the cost of the destroyers, let's have a look, 31. Oh, it's actually quite expensive, 31. So yeah, 6 and a bit. So 6 and a bit destroyers are the same cost as a battleship. So yeah, destroyers are not worth it after you get past 1910. Just move on to something better. Okay guys, that's the end of this one. We've fired all our torpedoes and we've only killed one ship. Pretty disastrous. I shall see you soon. Take care guys.